So I was listening to the YBN mixtape, and I decided I wanted to have like a cleansing of my palates. I was thinking, this is kind of I've had enough of this to some degree. I want to listen to other kinds of things, and I thought, well, I was at the time considering what is a mixtape, and I wanted to hear other kinds of mixtapes to kind of give me a sense of what mixtapes can do, what mixtapes even are, and whether or not the distinction even matters. So I thought I'd listen to some. I listened to the Drought 3 by Lil Wayne, and also I listened to Earl Sweatshirt's Earl, his debut into the Odd Future canon, into the music canon of sorts. And recently, I think Pitchfork actually reviewed it recently. I didn't really review. I don't read reviews that much, but Pitchfork did this thing on it recently, so it kind of was in my radar. So I checked it out. I had to look for it online because it's not on any streaming services. I'm not sure why. I think it might be because Tyler the Creator might have sampled something that wasn't cleared or something. If you want me to talk about mixtapes, you can look at the YBN thing. I go into depth, probably too much depth, on like teasing apart what a mixtape even is. But what I find fascinating about this album or this mixtape is that it's just so vile. Like, I was surprised. When I listened to Odd Future when I was 15, and that was when they were getting popular. And I remember I have a memory of Odd Future being this kind of edgy thing that people were getting into because of its edginess. Because they were making songs like Yonkers, or Tyler the Creator was making songs where he was eating things, putting things in his mouth, very disgusting, hanging himself. It was like the peak of the idea of the edgy kind of music. And that's what Odd Future seemed to represent in the music landscape, and they were always talked about by the media as this bad influences on society. But at the time, I remember thinking, oh, this is just like old people talking about young people being skeptical or whatever. But I remember feeling a kind of pleasure in listening to the Odd Future music because there's something about their kind of aggression and the vileness that I thought was cathartic to some degree. I guess it's a kind of weird. What does it say about me? But I think it was true with many young people, and I think it's true today as well. But their level of vulgarity is is somewhere else. I think. Listening to this again, they talk very vividly about murdering women and how you specifically rape them, or how you know uh, just ejaculate all over, whatever. Like the lyrics and the language are so vividly, it so vividly depicts the most you know vile of acts, and in a way that I guess you can say, well, so did Eminem. That's true. Eminem did that as well, but Eminem was also like what in his late 20s, early these were Earl Sweatshirt was 16 when Earl this mixtape came out. Maybe he was recording when he was 15. So to hear this kind of incredible vulgarity, I imagine for maybe older people at the time, like the old generation, they looked at it and thought, wow, this is a symptom of like the depravity of the youth. What are we letting our kids? That was a lot of the discussion with Odd Future. But looking back on it, I totally get it. Looking back on it, I totally get it. Now I have like a better sense of things, and I listen to the music. I listen to Earl, and wow. I wish actually I would pull up some lyrics. Maybe I'll pull up some lyrics, but what I find very fascinating about it specifically is that I 100% this music would not fly today. You cannot have any of this come out today. And if an artist released something that had any kind of even close to something like this, the label would disassociate themselves from them. They would drop them. They would file a statement saying that they don't their views are not representative of blah blah blah. Like it's just it would not work. And I found it very fascinating because it came out in 2010, and in 8 years we've come to a situation in a society in which you cannot express these violent things. You cannot express misogyny. You can't express, homophobia. Oh, I don't even like. I don't like the term homophobia because phobia is what you're scared of. Gay people. I think homophobia is not the right term for it because it assumes that, having violent thoughts against something means that you're scared of it. I don't think that's true. I don't necessarily think hate is fear, although it can be, I guess. But, maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong. But like for example, so we have Earl. We open up Earl in his first line of sorts. The first thing he says is, yo, I'm a hot and bothered astronaut crashing while jacking off to buffering vids of Asher Rot eating applesauce. And he talks about you know, poking Catholics in the ass with sauce. Uh, it's not even close to the worst of it. You know, the fifth song on the album, for example, is called "Wake Up, Faggot." Now, again, you cannot have a song called "Wake Up, Faggot." The faggot, the word, you know, that kind of derogatory term for homosexuals cannot be used at all in any kind of, you know, people retrospectively shit on Eminem because he used faggot a lot, and people still do it with Tyler the Creator, and it's just the level of sensitivity today is such a it's I don't even think I'm not making any kind of criticism of Odd Future, of Earl Sweatshirt, of Tyler the Creator, of society today. I'm not making any criticism. I'm just making an observation of how far we've come. That what does it say? What does it mean to say when you have like this amount of degree in which we have things we're not allowed to say, and we collectively accept that these things are wrong to do, wrong to say. There are things in our past that we may have felt or may have experienced, that may have said, maybe we have tweeted about it or something, that can come back to haunt us because the time in which it was made was more accepting of different kinds of ways of speech. It's a complicated thing, and it's a big issue right now in society. So I feel like, for example, if you have Earl Sweatshirt, if Earl Sweatshirt at any given point in his career becomes successful, he's successful to some degree, but if he goes into the mainstream of sorts, 100% this mixtape will be number one on the agenda of reasons why we should what is the term for it when you when you I forgot the term. It's like a Twitter term. I don't use Twitter, so it's like a term of when you when you stop following someone or whatever it is. I forgot what you call it. You become an outcast. What's the term? I feel like an old piece of shit because I don't have Twitter, but you know what I mean. But so when you become denounced from society because of something you've done many years ago, that sticks with you. So Earl Sweatshirt, for example, can never go into the mainstream because he will automatically be renounced. People will not be able to associate with him. People will have to kind of think, well, you know, maybe he didn't mean it. Maybe he was playing a character. Maybe he, you know, it's weird. Because Tyler the Creator is already, he kind of experiences that to some degree. He was banned from the UK because of his lyrics. And maybe his recent turn in possibly expressing slightly romantic sexual things to the same sex, maybe that kind of may mitigate some of his early so-called homophobia, but I don't know, it's confusing. Like, for example, I don't know, Eminem thing recently, he called Tyler the Creator a faggot. I mean, people unanimously denounced Eminem for it. But well, some people were like, well, Tyler the Creator refers to himself as a faggot, so maybe that means that Eminem was making a reference to that, and that has a different context. But right now, we're in such a rage culture, we can never have any Earl mixtapes come out. This is not acceptable in today's culture, and it's interesting because you think of culture as something that kind of evolves, but when you think of historically, you don't think of culture evolving from like 5 years ago to now on a year-to-year basis. You know, culture would evolve through decades, through centuries. When you think of the evolution of culture, you think of it as how different is it today in 19th century as opposed to the 18th century. You know, it was slower back then. With the internet now, things 5 years ago, people were resurfacing tweets that came out 5 years ago to kind of denounce people today. It's just a very weird kind of life we're living right now. But yeah, I haven't even. I like the mixtape. I think it's very creative. I think Earl Sweatshirt is such a unique talent that I still don't kind of have any comparison to him, because he was so young. He was such a unique genius of sorts in terms of how he was able to juxtapose his words to make these very cohesive, and they're meaningfully cohesive, but also contextually depraved and funny lyrics. So yeah, that's what I have to say about Earl Sweatshirt's Earl. I do enjoy it, and I hope he makes new music soon. I know he kind of had a hard time with his dad recently passing away. A dad who he was kind of he was never on the best of terms with. So it has been a big thing on him. So I hope he is better and that he makes music in the future because he's such a talented individual. So that's Earl Sweatshirt's Earl. Yeah.